Welcome to the People's Guild.
Each week we explore the Splinterland universe with guests from all across the mythical land of Praetoria.
Join us on our journey as we discuss the evolution of the game, the strategy, the lore, and the exciting path that lies ahead.
To support the People's Guild, make sure you subscribe, rate, and review wherever you get your podcasts, and also check us out on PeakD, YouTube, and Twitter.
Send your questions, suggestions, and epic battles in our comments through Twitter or email at thepeoplesguildspl@gmail.com. We'll feature the best in our episodes and maybe airdrop you some prizes.
Thanks for tuning in and enjoy the show.
Welcome back to the People's Guild. Another week, another episode. Actually, I don't know how true that is at this point. We've, I think, logged one episode in the better part of the last month. All things are good. All systems go. It was just good to push pause, push back from the microphone for a little bit, have some time for us to catch up with families and just take a little bit of time off. But we're back, and we're back with a big bang before we go out for the year. We proudly welcome back the founder and the forefather of Splinterlands, Yabapmatt. Wonderful to see you as always, man. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, I love the opportunity to talk about this stuff. So appreciate it.
Yeah, we always love chatting with you. So thanks for joining us again.
Yeah, so what do you guys have in mind? What do you want to know? What do the people want to know?
Go ahead, Hep. Kick us off, dude.
Kick me off. Yeah, I'd love to kind of just hear your kind of take, since we're kind of like end of the year here episode, your kind of take on the progress and everything that you guys have done in the past year, through ups and downs. I think you guys have really prevailed and gotten a lot of good stuff out the door, and a lot of things in the game have changed for the better. So just kind of like to get your broad brush perspective on that.
Yeah, it's a good question, because it's also like a lot of what I'm sort of preparing to talk about, tomorrow in our town hall. So I'll go a little bit into it, and I'll leave some for that also. But yeah, I guess there were, it was a difficult year. It was a difficult last 2 years, I guess. But the two like overarching things I feel like was to get from the product perspective was, we kind of saw in the last bull run and then the end of the last bull run that like a lot of the stuff in the game design and economy did not work. And so a lot of the stuff over the past year was focused on fixing that and getting us into a position where we have like a really solid economic setup in the game for hopefully the next bull run. I think we did really well with that, and like there's like the glint system, the soulbound reward cards, the the wild pass and all this stuff. So to set it up so rewards can't be farmed effectively, and hopefully will set us up to fare much better next time around. The other side of things was like the back end business side of things. And unfortunately, there was just a ton to clean up there. It got really out of hand in like 2022. And so one of the things was getting our expenses down very significantly, so we're not losing money, and at risk of kind of like of running out. And we've really done that at this point, which is awesome. And still, maintaining a really good team, and being able to continue to put out features and stuff, not just like a skeleton crew or anything. And there's still, a lot of stuff has been cleaned up, but there's still just ongoing cleanup on the business side, just to really just simplify everything. I mean, there was so much money we were just spending on administrative people to do all this stuff, and I'm like, do we need to do all this stuff? Can we like eliminate this stuff? Can we change how our business operates? So a lot of that has been with the help of the DAO, the whole way we've structured sales. So the DAO pays the company do the sales. It simplifies our accounting and taxes in a lot of ways. Moving a lot of people to like to the DAO or to be contractors. There's Cryptomancer. There's the people in Patrick's company working on the validators. Like just having actual like W-2 employees, in different states and different countries is just so much overhead and nonsense. It's made me even more cynical, about how the system works than I was before, which I never thought was possible. So, that's those are kind of the two, I'd say, like big major projects of the year. And we've kind of hit them both. Puts us in a much better position going forward, I think.
Nice. Yeah, a quick follow-up on that. Something I've been thinking about recently, and it's sort of, the hot topic this year. We'll see what it is next year, but the hot topic this year has obviously been the use of AI in everything, and you can't go anywhere or hear any sort of talk without someone being an expert in a certain field of it. And I know in the past, you guys have said that you looked into it, and especially on the creative side, and that you thought, it didn't really do what we wanted it to do, and it seemed like it was more ended up being more work for people to kind of get it to the end result. And this was a while ago. I remember you sort of making those comments and us talking with Nate about it and him, similar comments. And, since then, there's been pretty big leaps in it, not only from the creative aspect, but also from like a software development aspect. I think it was in November, Google announced in their fourth quarter earnings call that like 25% or 30% of the code that their developers were putting out now was AI generated code. So they, not that they cut a bunch of people or were able to like get rid of headcount, but they were saying, hey, we basically have increased our productivity just writing code by 25%. So, with that kind of in mind, I didn't know, and, with the idea that you wanted the team to, have this lean, mean fighting machine, a team that we've got now, has there been a look or thoughts of using any of, any type of AI to either do software development or back in creative to kind of be able to boost the productivity with the great team that we have now?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the creative team has been starting to use it. And I think, like, from my perspective, I leave that up to the different team leads. It's more like, here's what we want to get done. You have this many resources. Do whatever you need to do. You use whatever tools you can use. And I think that, and I said, of course, if AI is going to help with that, use it. And I'm pretty sure it will. So I'm pretty sure Nate and the creative team have started to use it. I don't know specifically if the software team's been using it, but I've used it personally because I don't really do much actual coding anymore myself. So when I need to do certain things, I'm like very rusty. So it's been super helpful. And like I just keep thinking, like, if I had this stuff when I was like a kid trying to make little games, and there wasn't even like Stack Overflow or anything back then. I literally had books like from the bookstore, the library. But
yeah, the library.
Anyway, yeah. So it is kind of amazingly awesome in the way it can help with productivity. So I just put it to the teams to say, figure out how to get more done. And we've gotten it to the point where, everyone who's still on the team, they're really like, they're hardcore into this. Like, these are people who love this product and want to be here and want to make it awesome. Like, it's not just their job. So yeah, they're all very motivated to find cool new ways to do things. So, maybe could be a question for Investigator on the town hall, if he knows of, if the development team's using that in any way.
Nice. Yeah, that's such a big takeaway for us whenever we're talking with anybody. We've had, a bunch of team members on this past season. And I always love it that everybody always just has such a great passion for the game, and that really shows in a very genuine way. So I don't know. Do you think that they were just sort of attracted to these roles, or how is it that you have like a full team of people who are that passionate about it? Do you think that they were attracted? I know a lot of people who have jobs now. Even we talked to Blaze recently, and he's like, "Yeah, I lobbied to get this job." So it's clear that there are definitely some people on the team who like really sought it out, but others, maybe didn't as much. But you still ended up with people who are that passionate about it. Like, what do you credit with having that level of passion just throughout the whole team?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it was a lot of the people were players, right? And they were like, "Hey, I'm an artist or I'm a developer." Investigator himself was that way. Um, yeah, I think he started actually on the customer support team. Like he just wanted to help out and be a part of it, and then he was like, "Well, I'm actually a coder," and he's pretty much leading the dev team for the most part at this point. And he's awesome. It's obviously like Cryptomancer. He was hardcore into Hive and Splinterlands. Wanted to join and help out, and Nate, same way. So, um, and then over the years, as unfortunately we've had to do like layoffs and let people go, or we've also had to do like salary reductions and things. The people who don't really want to be here leave or are let go. And so it's one of the like it sucks because I really want to be giving all these people who are so like putting so much time and effort into this like more money, and I hope that we'll be in a position to do that soon. But in the meantime, everyone knows the situation currently, and people have even volunteered to take less salary or more or stock options or other things, which is awesome. So it's just sort of naturally over time has whittled down to the most hardcore people or the ones who kind of no matter what, like they stay, they keep working on this.
Yeah, I feel like Splinterlands has again, credit to the culture. We hosted Lily, and I think as far as I understand, it was one of her very first very openly public appearances, and we got to hear the story of how Royal pretty pretty much baited her into Splinterlands, and now the whole family is playing and owning promo cards and gold foils and all the rest. So yeah, it's been amazing to see that culture continues to perpetuate itself throughout. Whether you're talking to frontline customer service guys or the folks that are steering the company, that passion is the one very openly common thread between y'all.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's very different than any like job I've worked at, or anything. Because in every case, every job I've worked at was just a job, and like people don't really care that much about the company or what we're doing. Like, obviously, when people work for a company, they care about what they're doing generally. But this is a very different level, and it's kind of the idea of how it started was really I thought of it was more just like some friends building things that we thought were cool. And it did kind of go in a completely bad direction in my opinion in like 2021 and 2022 of like trying to turn into this like very corporation in every sense of the word, and it kind of yeah, it wasn't great. Obviously, the results speak for themselves, and it's sort of naturally whittled back down to just people who really like this and want to do this, um, which I think is much better all around. And my goal and something I keep in mind is my hope is that we'll get financially to a point where we're doing really well again in the not too distant future. And then to make sure we don't go overboard with middle managers and meetings and administrative stuff, and just try to keep it more of a core, hopefully a larger and higher paid, but still relatively small group of just hardcore motivated people.
Yeah. So let's, so you just, in response to Heb's question, kind of painted a broad brush in retrospective of 2024. Can we dive into a little bit more of the nitty gritty? We entered the year, I want to say it was the first town hall of 2024, kind of looking outward and onward to this point in time. And the sole focus was, pretty much openly stated that we're going to be focusing on NPE, and whether that was the new player experience or a new experience for players. I think to this point, it kind of feels like, it's a very different experience when you hop into Splinterlands as a veteran. At this point, I think Hep and I have been here for the better part of 3 years, if not past that, which is crazy. The time's just flown by, hard to believe. But it's a very different ball game now, and it's a very different experience. We don't need to get into all of the details, but as far as the new player experience, I think there's still some things that I'm wondering if are coming, and I would love to hear your perspective, Matt. Um, are there some big items that you feel like we need to tick off before we start making those big marketing waves and bringing in the new players, the folks that are unfamiliar with crypto for the most part?
Yeah, I mean we did focus a lot on that in over the year. Um, I would say we probably never get done as much stuff as I'd like to at the beginning of the year by the time we get to the end of the year, just as how it is. But like that is it was and still is a big part of the focus. So, and I've talked about this in like our list of projects, and the goal is to get most of these done or as many as possible in Q1 of next year before the next set release and before we start the big marketing campaign. So a lot of the stuff happened more recently, but just the whole free to play experience, like allowing basically the entire game to be open and available without buying a spell book, is really big and important for new players coming in. Um, I want to expand that further, where there's actually like a set of, like, I don't know what we're going to call it, like a training set or a core set of cards, like a set of packs, normal cards, like a normal card set, but the cards are, underpowered, kind of basic cards, but still like, so it makes it a real free to play experience in the sense that you can come in, you can play, and you don't get like a single draw, with your glint. You can actually open packs. You can just do, and all soul bound. But it's just, if you want to come in and play for free, you can get the full experience of opening packs, combining cards, getting a set, playing, probably being able to get out of Bronze League, on your own. And then it just, the goal is to have a much more rewarding experience for new players coming in who aren't, who don't yet get the whole system and aren't ready to start putting in money. So that's still what we're trying to do. There's been so much work to rebuild the entire site to get the mobile experience working, and hopefully a good experience, because we find that a lot of new players come in through mobile. So that's a big drop off. And then Royal, who you mentioned earlier, has been specifically like going through the data and reaching out and talking to the new players who come, and just figuring out exactly all the little problems that they run into that we can fix. Are they buying wild cards and not being able to play them? Are they buying land things, not knowing what it's for? I mean, all these type of things. How can we encourage them to get into guilds? We're talking about how we can upgrade or, update guilds to make it, because guilds is one of the main ways that we see people, new players, be really engaged over the longer term. Like if they join a guild, there's a much bigger chance they'll get real invested in the game than if they don't. So how do we encourage more people to join guilds and more, stuff to do in the guilds? So yeah, I would definitely have liked more of that stuff to have been completed in 2024, but regardless, we did make a ton of progress. And even some of the other things we did, like the glint system, that was necessary because that's how we're able to reward the new players coming in, right? You need this soulbound stuff, so it can't be farmed, uh, by bot armies or whatever it is. So like all these things were sort of steps and putting all the pieces in place to allow us to get there. And the hope and the goal is to get there before Conclave Arcana launch and put it all together with a real big marketing push.
So do we have, or are you guys kind of set on we're gonna launch Conclave Arcana in, you know, the springtime or something of next year regardless, or is it going to be a shifting date where we want to get X, Y, and Z finished and then we'll definitely know we're going to launch? Or is it, no, we really need to get this new set out. We really want to launch it. And so we're going to have to launch it regardless of, and we're going to obviously get as much done as we can possible, but we're not going to push that date out.
Yeah, it's hard to say because things change, very quickly. So as of now, I would very much like to get it out in April, which is when we were shooting for. If we get there and it's like, wow, we really were just like unable to get certain things done, and the new onboarding experience isn't where we'd like it, I'm not gonna just be like, nope, April it is. I always, and this is what I try to say to people, because some people are like, you always have to stick with what you say no matter what. And I'm like, that's not, I don't think that's a good way to run any project. You have to you have to be able to adapt, right? Things change. So like a big part of the job is just evaluating constantly and seeing like, okay, well, this is what we plan to do, but shit happens. So we shouldn't just go do it just because that's what we thought was the best thing to do 6 months ago. If circumstances change, we got to change it. So
yeah, it's easy to stick to what you say you're going to do, as long as you don't say anything until it's already done, right? And then you say, well, hey, we're going to do this, in a month because it's already done, right? And that's just kind of not like the community we're in. People want to know where we're headed in advance, and you guys are very open about that. So yeah, it would be easy for you guys to kind of clamp down and just not say anything, right? But that's just not kind of how, I take it that you want to run things.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it makes sense for the project and for anyone involved in the project. I know a lot of people are like, well, there's money involved, so you want as little uncertainty as possible. But that's not what this is. Like, this is a brand new type of thing that we're experimenting with. And I try to say that constantly. I wrote a post about it, a couple years ago to be able to reference whenever this comes up. Like, if you're looking for a very stable crypto project, like invest in Bitcoin.
Stick your money in a savings
it's always
account
a good way to go. But if you want to be right, yeah, I mean, I still pick Bitcoin over that. It's not really going to change. That's not what this is. This is being a part of a big experiment and like being on the forefront of figuring stuff out. And I think it would be hugely detrimental, if we just are like, nope, 6 months or a year ago, we thought that this was going to be the best way to do it. And even though it's very clear that it's not anymore, we're still going to do it this other way. Like, it just doesn't make sense long term. So that's how we operate. And if people don't agree with that, that's fine. But I think I try to be very clear, like, that's what we're doing, so expect it.
Nice. Hey, Matt, I don't know if you've spoken about the idea of the soulbound non-spellbook purchase cards before. Have you addressed that publicly yet?
I thought I had, maybe in the last town hall. Maybe I didn't. If not, then surprise, you got an exclusive.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd heard that before, but if you don't mind, I'd kind of like to unpack that idea a little bit further, if you're willing to dive into it. So I really love the concept of these cards that are specific to, and I'm imagining as soon as, suppose a player, completes their learning curve, they make the decision to take the jump and purchase that spell book. All of a sudden is the idea that these cards become unplayable and more of like a trophy. Like I earned these prior to my spellbook days, sort of thing?
No. The idea is that they just be it's a new set. We're just releasing a new set into the game. Um, so it'd be available to everybody. They'd be regular cards. They can be played in any types of battles, just like any other card. They're just objectively worse and basic,
Yeah.
right? It's for learning the game, right? They don't have all the crazy new abilities. They have fewer basic abilities. They're higher mana cost for the stats. Very, very, very basic cards. But the idea is other than them being soul bound and not, they can't be like unsoul bound, so there's no market for them. Um, and you just probably buy them in the glint shop. So, you guys or any of our existing players, people who just want to collect these cards, or maybe some of them will be useful in battles, whatever, who knows. You can buy, and they'll be cheap. They'll be super cheap, because right now, even though we have this free to play experience that we recently launched, it sucks in the sense that, like, if you come in and don't actually spend any money, like, you earn so little glint. It's like just impossible to get ahead. It's a frustrating, difficult experience. So that's not our end goal, right? So we want it to be like any normal free to play game you would play in the app stores, where and that's what this new set would be based on. So you can come in and it's just like you play your first battle and you get 5 packs of this training set, right? And so you get stuff, and you can actually earn a bunch of cards, and you can combine them, and you can level them up. And even if these cards are objectively worse, if you get them to whatever level, you'll probably be able to beat the lowest end players in modern that have level 1 cards, even the level 1 rebellion cards, if you have level 5 or 6 or whatever these other cards. So just by coming in and playing the game, you have an actual fun, rewarding experience through these cards. And when you're earning glint, you'll get enough where you can actually buy packs of these cards, right? And they'll still have legendary. They probably not gold foil or anything, but they'll still be epics and legendaries. So you can open the packs and you can get the excitement and all that stuff. And it's really just makes it a full end-to-end fun free to play game. And the idea is that hopefully people enjoy that and they have fun and they're doing it. And at some point they get to whatever level it is. I don't know what it'll be. And then they're just like, yeah, well, now I've been fighting against, these rebellion cards or these Conclave Arcana cards. If they're enjoying the product, they're going to be much more likely to go out and start purchasing that stuff, versus now where they come in, kind of have a horrible experience. And so they just, most people just leave, not be like, oh, I had a bad experience, so let me purchase a bunch of stuff, right? But yeah, that's what we're thinking. Basically, like watered down, but otherwise normal soul-bound set of very cheap cards.
Got you. And is
Yeah,
is the
that's a
general
great idea.
idea to are folks coming in like upon account creation? Are these new players planned to be gifted, kind of like a starter set to get them up and running with summoners, or are they just playing with ghost cards and earning
Well,
these
this
new?
this
Go
would
ahead.
probably make us be able to get rid of ghost cards. I never liked ghost cards. It was always weird. No other game I've ever heard of has this ghost card concept, I think. And it was really because we didn't have anything like this core set, this like training set. So yeah, the idea would be people would come in and they would probably go through the tutorial, right? We're going to have a new tutorial at some point. And as they go through the tutorial, they'll get these cards, right? They'll probably get the summoners and get the a few of the basic cards, enough that they can start playing. So it incentivizes them to go through the tutorial, because you're actually like unlocking actual things that you can use. And then as they do more, there's like, play your first battle. Okay, you get some packs. Join a guild, you get some packs, right? It's just obviously we can't do that with Rebellion packs or any of the other packs. We can just give them out like that. But these very cheap soul-bound packs with like training cards, we can. And then I think that at that point we completely get rid of ghost cards from the game, other than like ghost card tournaments and things.
Got you. So
That's
the
awesome.
idea is, if I'm understanding this correctly, is until they surpass the tutorial segment of being introduced into Splinterlands. They'll be siloed and protected while they're, kind of building up their training card decks and learning the ropes, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, that's the idea. I mean, we already have, I mean, we had a tutorial, um, and we have Novice League. So that's the, so, we're going to be rebuilding this stuff for this. But yes, the idea is, you come in and you go through a tutorial, you get these cards, you start playing some games in Novice League against bots, you earn more of these cards. To hopefully, once you get into bronze and you're just playing against other real players, you uh, not only understand the game, but have a decent set of cards to pick from.
Yeah, I think it's great. I think that, looking at other games I played, some games I didn't even, really enjoy that much, but games that had that element where, you feel like you're earning something and you have tasks that you can do, and it's, tasks that are laid out over a period of time or take a certain amount of time that makes you kind of come back to it and play it. I think those are sort of like important psychological aspects of what gets people hooked into a game or keeps people kind of coming back and playing to the game to make it stickier. And so, yeah, I've long wanted to see that those sort of things built into that sort of tutorial new player experience thing, because I think that they work, they're proven to work, and so to have our game be like that and be able to get people kind of hooked, or I'm gonna say hooked, but like just used to playing it and you like understanding what's going on. And then, like you said, like even if someone says, well, hey, there's this, I don't like, maybe I can just buy, like, we'll try to get one card. There's this one card that always beats me, or seems
Hmm.
like it's really cool in a battle. Like I'm gonna go get that one card and I'm gonna work it into my deck, right? And that's kind of how, sort of how I, or probably a lot of us got into this game by, starting out with a very basic deck, starting in bronze, or saying, oh, I'm just going to play it silver. And, seeing, oh, well, this card here, like that looks really cool. That card's beating me all the time. Like I got to go get that. And, just a little bit here and there. And then all of a sudden, next thing you know, you're playing in gold or champion league and you're buying everything, right? Like it's not going to be everybody, but, you don't need to convert everybody like that. You probably just want to, if you can get 10% of the people who are playing to be like that, then that goes a long way.
Yeah, and I look at it, we need people to be spending more time, new players to be spending more time in the game. It takes time for people to grasp what's going on here, right? I think when people like you guys in our current community, they really get what's happening in Splinterlands. And it is kind of very drastically different, even from a lot of other blockchain games in the way it's all, the way it all works economically. Um, and when I feel like when people get that, they get really into it. But right now, the experience is like, as a new player, you don't understand anything, and so you have a really difficult time of everything. And why does that even going to encourage you to like look into it more, right? You just leave, and the numbers show that, right? It's very clear. So the idea is to just like give a fun, typical, rewarding experience so people stick around, so then they can start learning and understanding. And it's not, it's like, okay, yeah, I want to get these cards, that I'm, playing against, so I can do better in the game. But it's not just that. It's what does it mean to own a card? Or there's okay, should I rent it, right? What happens if I rent it versus if I own it? Where is the money going, right? Because that's people, the whole concept that the money is going effectively to the player base through the SPS token, you're not just paying a company for these things, is a concept that we currently don't do a good job of explaining to people, right? People are very easily can come in and do this and have no idea. The biggest, most important, like, thing about that differentiates Splinterlands from everything else, and they don't know. So yeah, we just want people to spend more time trying this out and having like a fun, rewarding experience. We'll do that. and then hopefully really be able to get that messaging across. Like, wait, I'm not just buying this card so I can win more games because I like to win games and move up in the ratings, but like then I own this asset. And this is a somewhat scarce asset. And if I don't want to use this asset anymore in the future, I can sell it. I could rent it out. I could do all these things. You use it on land and whatever it is. So we need more time with players to get them to understand all that.
Yeah, especially the rental market too. I mean, because that's you talk about differentiators for Splinterlands compared to other games, right? Like I'm not aware of many other games, or I'm not aware of any other games that where you can sort of rent from other players. I'm not sure if they're out there, if you've come across other ones, but I know, the marketplace that you guys have both in game and both through other third parties is something that, is just really awesome. And really sets the game apart, I think, from other games.
Yeah, and we need to tell people. People don't know.
Yeah.
It's hard to figure it out and understand. And but the good thing is like that part is not the hard part, right? That's just like building tutorials and you know building out a reward system. This is not like new cutting edge stuff. This is basic stuff that games have been doing forever. So um, it's just something we hadn't really been able and hadn't focused on, but now we are, and it takes more time than I would like because yeah, if we were starting a brand new game from scratch, building it from the ground up, it's much more easy to do this stuff. But again, like we're changing out the engine while the train's going down the track. I would say we're probably changing the entire train as the train's moving down the track. So we still have to get new sets out. We still have to get promo cards, and there's bugs and there's issues and there's like other little quality of life things that we got to do. While this is going, we got to take into account how things were in the past and what all the different tokens and things that people have and community sentiment and how do we roll it out. So like everything is just it's frustrating to me too. I'm like I want to get all this stuff out. I can like envision it clearly of all this, and then it's like well we got like 5 developers, and we gotta do all these different things. We gotta make sure it works on mobile and whatnot. So we're
Real
trying.
quickly, that's the second time we've dropped the buzzword mobile. I do want to acknowledge we've talked about it a couple of times on air, but I have finally picked up my phone and have been playing on mobile again. And for the first time, well, I shouldn't even say again, for the first time ever.
Yeah.
I used to scramble and, realizing that I'd forgotten to put in my brawl battles or something. I'd, take a quick break outside the office and like fumble through the previous mobile experience. But now it still takes a little bit of time, and I would like to see some advancement in the team selection screen. But for the most part, I would say it's 90% of the way there. It's great. And yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I 100% agree. I used our previous mobile app until it got like so far behind on features it was unusable. Um, and I've more recently started actually using mobile here and there for things. And I agree, like, we have a lot of work to do on it. But the main work was we had to literally replace the entire website. We had to rebuild the entire website. That's done. That was, I think, the last release was like the final one where the entire old website. This was what I built, the original website that I built, um, mostly myself, all gone. Newer web frameworks that just work automatically, kind of across different browsers and different devices, all in place. So now that that's done, okay. It's much easier to just go in and fix all the different pieces. And then we have Studkev, who is the developer behind Hive Keychain, is working on taking that and putting it into an actual app that we can submit to the app stores with it. So yeah, so I agree with you. Like it's usable finally, and then it's a matter of cleaning up and fixing up things, which is exciting.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think it's great. So with the changes, or do you have as much trouble as I do finding the battle button on the when you're doing it on the web app on like on a PC or something. I'm just saying we
Oh,
were joking around before how like I'm always looking for the battle like muscle memory. I'm always going to click battle like where it used to be, and I always have to like remember that it's up at the top now and not in the middle of the battle screen. So
I guess I can't say that I really have had too much trouble with it myself, but I don't know. I don't know. I guess I kind of got used to it quickly.
I want to circle back to, you're talking about the SPS and how critical it is to, it's the lifeblood of what we're doing here at Splinterlands, and the concept of, when we're buying packs, when we're trading cards, when we're playing battles, we're adding value to the SPS token, and that message not necessarily sticking with or resonating with folks that are kind of outside the ecosystem. Do you think that's a byproduct of either A, it being such a revolutionary idea, and it's, the mass majority of folks just aren't ready to kind of embrace that concept, or is it more we're still trying to define what is our demographic that we're targeting with Splinterlands?
That's the thing. I don't people shouldn't have to know about that, right? There will be a group that gets it, and that ideally they'll do better, I guess financially as a result. But you shouldn't have to understand that, and that's part of like the whole new user experience we were just talking about. Like, we want people to come in and enjoy the game and the product first. Like you can't just have them come in and just be like, here's how the whole economy works, right? So like let people come in, have a fun, good, normal game experience, and then like over time, slowly they get this because it takes a while to wrap your head around, and you got to experience it. And the second thing is, we haven't seen it work yet, right? Um, I mean, it works in that it's built and it is operating, right? But it hasn't worked in the sense that, we still it's all based on how much demand there is for the product and how much money there is coming into the ecosystem, right? And to date, there's still generally more money flowing out of the ecosystem than there is coming into it. So we haven't really seen the effects of what this means. But if you just look at historically, um, you know, it's the system is now set up where the money coming in goes to the SPS token. It was not like that before. We saw it a little bit when Rebellion was released, right? I don't know if you guys remember, but when Rebellion was released, SPS like tripled in value in a few months' time. That was it working, right? And unfortunately it fizzled out after that, right? The Rebellion release was exciting, money was coming in, and then it wasn't followed up with, and we couldn't really follow it up with too much. It's just the market wasn't ready for it in my opinion, right? It was still kind of a bear market. So my hope is that with Conclave Arcana, just with the regular launch, everything else being equal, we see a similar thing. It's just money's going to come into the game. That goes to the SPS token. You see the results. But my hope is that, we'll now be entering into a bull market, and that will continue, right? It won't fizzle out. And then that's where things can kind of get crazy. I mean, you look at the market cap of SPS, it's like 15 million or something. A few $1 million coming in, that goes toward that is massive. It's like 20% of the token value coming in, and anything more than that is even more massive. And then it builds on itself. If that happens and the token price starts going up and it's a bull market, then it gets more people excited and things kind of go crazy. But then the hope is that things go crazy, but our system is now set up to handle it properly. Like last time, the DEC token wasn't pegged properly, so that went nuts and everything went out of whack. And then people were able to just start farming everything, and it was sort of a big mess because we were totally unprepared for it, right? So this time it's all set up properly, and if we have a wave of incoming money into the game, it all will be funneled into the SPS token properly. DEC will stick at that peg because there's the arbitrage opportunity. and then there's not an opportunity to farm rewards and then cause the huge, drop off, even if the market doesn't do as well in the end. Um, so I think, and even if people don't understand all of this, once it starts, it'll happen without their understanding. If they're putting money into the product, they don't even have to buy SPS. They don't even have to know about SPS. They just have to enjoy the product and buy the stuff, right? Because that money will go to SPS. That's what's so cool. That's what's different. Most other projects, people have to understand and they have to buy the token. But here, if you just buy the products in the game, the token buying happens automatically, right? So even if you don't understand any of this stuff, if you enjoy the game and you're buying stuff in the game, it all works. And then once assuming that happens, everyone sees that happen, and then they're like, what's going on? That's the best way to get people to start to understand things, is to show really awesome results from it. So that's my whole goal. That's like my focus, is towards getting that to happen.
As we prepare for, these, it's going to be a really big next 6 months. Whether you're looking at the universe that is Splinterlands or beyond, some crazy stuff is going on, and it looks like the stars have aligned for Splinterlands ship to take flight here, and it's exciting, and I think we're all kind of sitting with bated breath, looking forward to what's going to transpire over the next couple of quarters. Have you guys discussed? I don't know if I've ever heard this expressed, at least definitively, and I think some folks, some content creators in the space have kind of batted around the idea. What is the target demographic of Splinterlands in your mind?
Um, yeah, two things. I mean, one, I mentioned that we've been working with two other marketing guys that used to lead the team at Illuvium. This is actually one of the things that they've been working on and putting together, is all the different potential target demographics, and really doing an actual analysis of those demographics, their size, what products they currently like and use, and how we can effectively target them, which is awesome. Uh, to have that, like, a data-driven approach to it, versus historically my approach has always been, I'm building a product that I myself want to play. So I have always been the demographic. And most of the people who have come along for this ride, are similar to me in a lot of ways. So that, like, a totally non-data driven approach, that's how I approach it. I'm like, if I like this thing, there are other people, a bunch of other nerds out there who will like these things, and we go for it. And that demographic is, someone who's grown up playing games, especially like, Magic the Gathering, Pokemon type things. Probably, has a family now, a job, saving for retirement, that type of thing, but still likes these games, feels kind of dumb about spending ridiculous amounts of money in Web 2 games. It's just throwing it down the trash, and it's like, why can't you spend money in these games and have fun and do the things you like, but also potentially have investments, and it's not just throwing money away, giving it to some company. You can also benefit from it, and people who also like, I like the economic aspects. Like, I love trading and buying and selling Magic cards. You know what I mean? I would always have the price guides, when I was a kid, and like, that was such a big part of the game to me. With not the actual playing of the cards, but just like the pricing and the markets and the buying and the selling and the trading, and so that, to me, that's the demographic. I think is like the main target demographic.
And do you feel like the guys from Illuvium, did they provide any data-driven defined demographic that was a little bit eye-opening to you and something you hadn't necessarily considered prior?
Um, I'd say there wasn't anything I was like, oh, I totally didn't know about those people. I certainly, yeah, we haven't, like, so they're still in the process of preparing all this stuff. And we haven't, like, gone through a lot of it in detail. So there might be some, but at a high level, I was like, yeah, this makes sense. But there was a lot of stuff I didn't know. Certainly, like, I didn't know what game. I didn't know a lot of the games that they were playing, or I didn't know that they were, that this demographic was more into these type of games versus that. I didn't know what specific features the data shows that they prefer, stuff like that. So there wasn't anything I was like, whoa, that's totally unexpected, which was good. I like to think that I generally, you know, understand the gaming audience, but like it was all that detail that I just had no idea about.
We've talked about it a couple times on here, and it's interesting to kind of get different people's takes. And so I definitely want to get your take while we're on this topic about sort of what's the best kind of like marketing message about Splinterlands. And just, obviously it's not the newest game on the block anymore. When it was, first out, it was, and it was, there was a lot less competition. So I don't want to like poison the well at all with giving you kind of like thoughts that we've had before on solid messaging. Kind of like, what is your kind of take on, why, if you wanted to, sort of, basically it's like the elevator pitch, right? If you had someone who's interested in crypto gaming and he's like, well, I'm looking at 10 different games, why should I play Splinterlands?
And so I don't know. And I realized that I'm not good at that. Even like on these things, like talking to you guys or whatever on town halls, I feel like like I know in my mind why it's so cool and different, and I really struggle to articulate this properly, and that's why I'm very excited. And historically, I don't think, even though we had a marketing team in the past, I don't think we ever came up with good messaging at all. But that's like what these guys are here to do. Blaze and Andrew and Scott that were previously at Alluvium, like that's it. That's their thing. They are supposed to build a marketing campaign for us with the messaging and the different things we can try and look at the data and like run a real campaign, A/B test things, whatever it is. So I've come to terms with the fact that I don't know uh, what is a good, succinct way to message this and get this point across. I've realized that I struggle with that, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing what they come up with for this.
Well, that's great. That's a great answer. It takes a lot to know what you don't know. A lot of people don't have that level of intelligence, I'll tell you that much. So it's great that you recognize that, and it's great leadership to not only recognize that, but then to say, yeah, that's why I hired these guys, and they're gonna go figure it out and crush it for us. So
Yeah, hopefully, fingers crossed. I mean, so far, I'm excited about the stuff that they're doing. Um, but ultimately, if it needs to lead to that really great messaging and campaign. So
It's a tall task, man. Yeah, and to be completely fair, yeah, but it's such a deep, multifaceted. How do you bundle that up and pitch it in 30 seconds? Yeah, I have no idea. I'll be
well,
interested to
they've
see
been
what they come
talking.
up with.
Part of the demographic analysis was that there's probably going to be different messaging that we try to target at different audiences. Right? So you focus on different things for different people. The the crypto trader audience, probably has a very different message than the traditional gamer audience and that stuff, which is also good because I agree with that. One size doesn't fit all. But yeah, it is a tall task. The good thing is that we're starting from zero. So like unless the messaging is so horrible that everyone's like, I don't want to do this at all. Um, it should have a positive impact. Um, you know, uh, but yeah, I agree. I'm you know cautiously optimistic to see what
Yeah.
happens.
Well, Matt, you have always been, kind of the conservative bear of the bunch on the team, and I gotta say, man, the last 2 months, I feel like, I feel like I'm speaking on behalf of everybody, and maybe a bit of a subjective observation, but I feel like you have been openly much more optimistic and excited and generally bullish on where we are at this point in time. Is that you donning your CEO cap? I kind of asked this a little bit tongue in cheek. I think I know the answer, but I'm going to let you fill in the blanks anyways. Um, Go ahead.
Well, I mean, it was a real slog. And I went from, enjoying designing the product and having other people running the business to taking this over, having to let a ton of people go, and having to personally deal with all kinds of administrative BS. That was my life. And, so it's just like, and things weren't going great, in the ecosystem and whatever. It's bear market. I'm dealing with all these problems, all this stuff, having to let people go. I mean, it's just like it's hard to be optimistic. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, well, these things go in cycles. And I'm like, I felt this way in 2020. I did. It was, things were bad then. There was the whole, J69 thing. I don't know if you guys were around for that, but like things were bad, right? So in my mind, I'm like, yeah, things were difficult, earlier this year. It's hard to be optimistic. I'm stressed. I'm tired, you know, don't want to be doing this stuff. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, this happened before, right? This happened before. And I felt this way before, and things looked bleak before. And then what happened? It all like completely exploded the other direction the next year. Um, and even though I knew that and felt it, like when you're in it, it still doesn't make you feel optimistic. You know, it's just like it kept me going. Um, this hope that would happen again, because it's not guaranteed. Just because it happened last time doesn't mean it's going to happen again. Um, but now, over the last few months, I see it starting to happen. So I'm like, a lot of the crap has been taken care of. A lot of the problems have been fixed. So I have less, weighing on me. At the same time, as I really see the light at the end of the tunnel here, I like see what happened in 2021 looking like it's set to happen in 2025 and more, because in 2021 we still had an administration here in the US that was as anti-crypto as you could possibly be, to a degree of being completely corrupt and illegal in many cases. Um, and still things went insane, right? I mean, so if that happened with that administrative backdrop, um, what might happen in a world where the government is, very pro crypto, and we have all the biggest financial institutions like, trying to, put out Bitcoin ads and things like that. So I'm like, I'm sitting back here thinking, well, it's a lot of the stuff, a lot of the crap has been taken care of. We're in a good place. We're ready to go, which we weren't last time, and it seems like it's happening again. It's starting. So yeah, that gets me very, very optimistic. And I'm also optimistic that I hope at some point we can get someone else to administer and manage and run the company and deal with all this crap, and I can go back to product. So that's like probably the most exciting piece of all this for me. So that's why I'm optimistic. It's like I see it happening,
See the
actually.
light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
So is that kind of your goal? Like you wanna step back from this role and get back more into to sort of game design and development?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's awful. I mean, I mean, it's necessary, and I get that. It's unfortunate that it's necessary. But yeah, like I don't want to be spending my days, dealing with tax issues and, just talking to our lawyers and we're figuring out our finances and all this stuff. Like I'm not interested in that at all. It's not fun. It's not interesting. I'm not spending time working and designing the game, and all that stuff. So, uh, but I have to at this point, for a while. But as soon as we get into a position to bring someone else in to start handling a lot of this stuff, I'm gonna go back to doing game design and things. And it's not going to be a situation where there's like some random person who's now controlling the company and taking the product in different directions. It's just we need someone and there's people better at it. Like I don't know what I'm doing with all this stuff, like honestly. So someone who has experience like managing a company and just making sure, we have the right insurances and just all this stuff that I don't know. Um, it's just uh it's not the best setup. It's what we need to do for now. But I really look forward to the day that I can just be like, I have someone really good taking care of all that crap. And I'm gonna worry about the next card set or how survival mode's going or whatever, that type of stuff.
Yeah. So what kind of gets us there? Obviously, there's not going to be like a set number. Maybe you do have a set number in your head or something like that. But is it just kind of like getting the player levels back up to a certain thing? Is it getting, we're getting X amount of dollars in per card set sale? Like like kind of like what does it look like to you when you get to step down from the role?
Yeah, I don't have an exact number because, like I said, things change a lot. But we'll know. So, like right now, we finally got it to a place where we're running roughly break even. We're not losing money. We're in a more stable position. Um, we'll get to a point where we start to have excess funds, and I don't want to just immediately take those and start spending them, right? I want to build up a reserve, and we'll get to a point where I think we've built up a decent reserve, and then we still have some excess funds, and then that's when you go and say, how can we expand and expand like carefully and smartly.
So is the new CEO when you expand, is that item number one on the wish list, or are there other positions or roles you think you guys would need to have first?
It's number one on my wish list.
Right.
Um, we'll see. Hard to say for sure.
Yeah.
Are you starting to dip your toes back into kind of the headspace of game design? Are you finding time to play a little bit more often and find familiarity in the meta throughout modern
Well,
respective
yeah,
leagues?
I'm still very involved in game design and all the projects. Like I'm still the one who typically writes the specs for them and works with the team on them and all that stuff. But I could do more. And we could do things faster, I think, if I could spend more time on it. And I'd just be in a better headspace. I'm not like, you know, dealing with all this crap that I don't like dealing with. But yeah, I feel very out of touch, uh, like with the meta, and with all the, obviously historically, like I knew every card, I knew what they did, I was just, and like now, obviously we have Call Me Tim designing the cards, and that's great. But I don't like, you know, I don't like not really knowing everything and being as involved as I could be. So that's, I just want to make sure that everyone knows, like, I'm still involved in the overall design, especially the economy design, because that's like the biggest area where we don't have, other people in the team that are, there's not that many people, honestly, in the world, because how many people have spent, that many years building a crypto game economy, right? I mean, they've only existed for about as long as we've been doing this. So that's like my main focus. But yes, I'm still involved. It's just, I could do a lot more of that and a lot less of stuff I don't like doing.
Yeah. So a moment ago, Hep asked if there's kind of a key list of metrics that you're looking for to kind of signal, hey, it's my watershed moment. I should step down from CEO and move back into what I really want to do. And I understand that it's kind of a moving target, and that there's this is not going to be one of those instances where you say 6 months from now, come rain or shine, I'm out of here, like packing my bags. But as we're kind of moving towards that target, and as we're defining demographics, as we're building out MPE, as we're, kind of ticking a lot of the boxes to set us up for that long-term sustainable success, have you kind of, as these images and definitions start to, gain clarity as we move forward, have you guys discussed internally based on our defined demographics? Is there kind of a target number? I imagine Splinterlands ecosystem right now it's super top heavy on modern. My guess would be that that's not necessarily going to be the sustainable path forward. Instead, we kind of need to flip that distribution on its head, and we want to see the bulk of players operating in that bronze, silver,
Mhm.
sub gold range. With all of that in mind, have you guys kind of, maybe pigeonholed what is a realistic goal in terms of players that we can accumulate, of players that we should be aiming to accumulate outside of as many as we can? Is there kind of a realistic ballpark number in there?
Yeah, that's all. That's definitely all part of the discussions we're having on the marketing side. I'm pretty sure like a goal that we're shooting for is 500,000 MAUs and like real active players or people. Whether they're using bots, in Wild or whatever, that's fine. But like, behind every bot there is a person. So like 500,000 active human beings participating in this project is our goal. Um, and that's, at least 10x what we have now. Um, that would be a huge, huge win, and it's also not massive in the scheme of things, right? So it seems like a realistic goal, a realistic target. That would be a massive win for us. And then yeah, as for that would just immediately address the top heaviness. The top heaviness is just because we've, all that's here right now is our hardcore players who are, mostly have high level decks and are in the higher leagues. But if we have a 10x or even a 2 or 3x influx of newer people, that's going to immediately um, change that whole thing in modern.
Do you know what the high water mark was of the game before? And I know a number that might be harder to hit, given that there, was much more prevalent having like people with large kind of bot farms. But do you guys have a sense of around what the number was at the highest mark before? Probably like around Untamed beginning Chaos Legionnaire.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know off the top of my head. It certainly was not anywhere close to a 500,000 people, I don't think. Um, Definitely, accounts wise, it was. Um, so yeah, I don't know off the top of my head what that was. And
Yeah.
it's a little hard to estimate. Also we have better data and tracking for that stuff now, especially with the whole project around enforcing the rules
Yeah.
of no bots. So we have a lot of tools and things to do that we didn't have then. So it's a little hard to go back and figure out how many.
Analyze old data sets and figure
Yeah,
that out. Seems like a lot of
yeah.
a lot of use there. We have to spend a lot of
But
money for that.
And as far as like also the effects of having that are going to be very different because the game is so different and the whole
Mhm.
ecosystem is so different now. So the effects of having many more real players playing in our ecosystem as it is now is going to be completely different from how it was then.
Yeah. Is there a sense of and maybe this is, part of what they're doing. I'm sure it's part of what they're doing, but do they have an estimate of what the total, like crypto gaming in total, an estimate of what the number of players who are in across, a broad range of products, right? Is there any sort of estimate on that they have? Like what it's at now? Like, is it at 500,000 now? Is it at 1 million now? Is it at 200,000 right now? And it's looking that we're going to grow, and as the pie gets bigger, we're going to have that bigger slice, and try to gain a bigger slice. Or I'm just like, this is pure curiosity, just kind of like what the crypto gaming ecosystem looks like right now.
Yeah, I'm actually as you're talking trying to find the documents that they've put together, and I'm failing at the moment. So I'm pretty sure that part of that whole demographic breakdown that they're putting together does include all this stuff, or at least will if it doesn't yet. Um, I don't remember uh, the numbers or exactly what was in there yet. Yeah, and also like I'm not again, like the whole point of this is like I can't be involved in every detail of all these processes that are going on in the company. So my goal is like I have good people and they're working on this stuff, and eventually, I do get updated as things progress just to make sure, things are going in the right direction and we're getting
Right.
value for our money. But at the end of the day, my hope is that that I'm going to get the final result. Like here's the recommendations, and if I want to see what led to it, here's all the data behind it. But I don't have that info for you like in front of me right now.
No, that's quite all right. I just like just pure curiosity. Figured maybe if you had known. But yeah, that's definitely we'll get a good list of. I'll make sure B Jangles writes this down for next time we have Blaze on.
But I
we
think
can
that's
ask
where
them.
that 500,000 number came from. I'm pretty sure they looked at like, here are target demographics we can realistically go after. Here's whatever the estimated size are, and here's however many they think we can get.
Yeah.
And then there's a focus on not just how many can we bring in, they also have to stay, right? So we're looking at, our retention numbers, which are very low, which makes sense because we really have very little in the way of tutorial. Until very recently, you couldn't do anything without spending $10. The mobile experience didn't work, and a lot of people come through there. So we're like doing all these changes. Royal Eagle's been kind of leading the data side of looking at, the people coming in and what is happening. And so there's two sides of the coin. One, marketing campaign that gets the people in the door, and two, make sure they have a good experience and a reasonable percentage of them stick around.
Yeah.
500,000. Holy shit. We better buckle up if we if we get anywhere near that. We've heard, I don't know if we've ever heard, like a hard and fast number on folks that are actually involved with Splinterlands on a semi-regular basis. I know we've got guys like Gold Matters who are almost exclusively relegated themselves to operating their land and that sort of stuff. So, I think it's a little bit more difficult to kind of fine tune what is the number of players, but you can look at overall battles and extrapolate out some semblance of understanding around total number of players. And I've heard anywhere between, like 3,000 and 6,000 is kind of what that number theoretically looks like.
Yeah, I'd say it's a few thousand is my gut feel. So yeah, like 500,000s would be like just unbelievable. I mean, even if we get 5,000 new players, if we get a tenth of our goal, that probably more than doubles our player base. It's huge. It's huge. That's why I feel like I just sounded like Donald Trump there. Not on purpose.
Well, it didn't
all.
help that you threw your hands out there.
Yeah, no, I don't know that. I just like kind of saw myself on the screen doing that. I was like, where did that come from? He's getting into our heads.
Yeah.
And anyway, but yeah, that's why I'm optimistic for the first time in a very long time. I'm like, look, even if most of the things don't go as we're planning, like if between all the stuff that we're doing, on the product side, the people we've been, bringing on to help actually do a marketing campaign for the first time ever, plus just the backdrop of crypto and, and things like, if that can't even manage to get us a few thousand more players, I'd be extremely surprised. Like that is probably, things would have to really go completely awry for that not to happen. And that by itself is a massive win. And if any number of those things really hit in any way, shape, or form, it could be easily 10 times that. And it's kind of like nuts. And, we saw it happen before, right? So it's not even really that crazy to think because it happened in 2021. Things went nuts. And it was with like the game wasn't ready, the product wasn't ready, things were breaking all the time. I don't know how much you guys were around with that, but like I couldn't get a night's sleep without getting a text about or a call about things breaking. I mean, everything, the government was doing everything they can. We got bank accounts shut down. I mean, it was like and still all that happened. So yeah, I mean, I try to like not get too crazy and try to be grounded, but like I look at all this stuff, I'm like, holy cow, this is an exciting time.
We're on the cusp, Ben. We've seen a little bit of the conversation around. Gosh, I guess I want. it was about a year ago that we had the big push for the pursuit of a centralized exchange listing. Uh, I think it was on the heels of that. That conversation had kind of been bubbling about for I don't know. I want to say a couple of weeks before the next town hall in which you came out and said, "Hey, it it, it would be ill-advised to pursue such a listing without validators." Everybody kind of pumped the brakes in response, and fast forward the 12 months to where we are now, and we're on the getting ready to launch validators as far as I am aware
Mhm.
within the next couple of months at the latest. And as a result, I think we've started to see that conversation bubble up once again. We mentioned crypto traders as maybe being a piece of the demographic pie a little bit earlier in the conversation. How how critical do you realistically think something like a centralized exchange listing is to the overall long-term success of Splinterlands?
Yeah, it's so one, I just want to be clear, like major centralized exchange listings,
Yeah.
extremely tough, whether we have validators or not. A lot of people seem to be like, why aren't you guys doing this? As if I can just somehow call up Ryan Armstrong and like get our token listed on Coinbase. Like, not gonna happen. And it's not even an environment like, even if we had, it's not like in the past you just pay like millions of dollars and do it. Like, that doesn't even happen anymore, nor do we have the funds if it were. So I'm not like sitting here being like have easily the ability to do this and I'm not doing it for some reason. Really tough. I don't really see that changing. Um, it would be big. I was going to say huge again. uh, it would clearly be big and amazing. But the flip side is, again, I look back to 2021. Um, Somehow, lots of money found its way into the game, right? And there were no listings. It was arguably more difficult to get into the tokens than it is now. Uh, but it happened. So I don't think it is necessary for us to be successful. I think we can be extremely successful without that. But that being said, one of the biggest things I would like to try to solve is to make it easier for people to get money into our tokens. Um, for a lot of reasons, not just because it would be great for the tokens in the game and the assets and all that stuff. Also because like us, having our PayPal integration is a huge source of, administrative overhead and difficulty for us. We had to implement the whole KYC process specifically to counter all the fraud that we were dealing with. We still deal with transaction chargebacks and issues and, using fiat currency in any way, like you have no idea the headaches that come from all this, reporting, the tax stuff, like all this nonsense. My dream is a day where it's very easy for everyone to get DEC and we don't have to have PayPal anymore. It would make we would save so much money and so much headache and so much time from that. So, like, a really big important thing in my mind is, can we make it super easy for people to get our tokens so we don't have to have credits anymore? Um, Obviously, a major exchange listing would be fantastic for that. But the way, at this point, the only way that would happen is they would list like the Binance chain token, right? Like a wrapped version of the token. So that's not that great because then people have to like transfer that into their own wallet and then use the bridge to bring it into the game. It's difficult and complicated. So that's where potentially validators can come in the sense that like it potentially allows exchanges to list our native token. So you can just withdraw from the exchange right into the game. No wrapping and bridging and all this stuff. I don't really expect that like a major exchange like a Coinbase is going to start operating an SPS validator node anytime in the near future. But it also opens up a lot. Like, one of the things I've been talking with PJ about, once validators are out and going well, like for them to potentially also, on behalf of the DAO who's paying them, uh, build and operate a bridge, instead of the current one we have through, it was TerraBlock. I forget what they're called now. that would also, so even if, even if an exchange is only able to offer a wrap token on another chain, like if we are running our own custom bridge, we can kind of make a custom, and when I say we, I mean the DAO, not the company. There can be like a custom integration for the exchange to make it so that you again can withdraw off the exchange and have it go right to your account. So, there's a lot of difficulty around it is what I'm trying to say, but it is a big goal of the team. And I know Clay and Patrick have been working with some at least fiat on ramps to do that, to be able to have a fiat on ramp that hopefully works in most countries and gets you SPS or DEC right into your in-game wallet um, seamlessly. So it's not necessary for our success, but it would be awesome.
It would certainly make things a lot easier. Living in Taiwan as a U.S. citizen, it is such a giant pain in the ass for me to get anything but credits into the game. I've tried Transact. At this point, I've just given up, and it's much easier for me to go via PayPal if I need DEC, buy and burn cards, something like that. Um, but yeah, that would be a huge win for all of us, including the tokens, if we were just able
Yeah.
to transact
And
directly.
and again, like a lot of the difficulty also came from the regulatory environment, right? We've been through this process of working with some of these fiat on ramps, and it's like unbelievably ridiculous. The information we need to provide, and then their compliance teams, don't want to do it, and like whatever. It's just a nightmare because they purposely make it extremely like the government literally does everything they can to stop this. So if that changes, uh, that which it seems like it is, potentially this could be a much easier process.
Yeah.
So again, all reasons to be optimistic.
And I guess it always kind of gets lost to me in this discussion. Like the SPS is on certain exchanges, right? Like I know it's
Hmm.
on crypto.com, which I use in
Yeah,
the US. It is on a couple of what I would consider major exchanges. So, I mean, I guess it's not on Binance, right? It's not on Coinbase. I think trying to get it on something like Coinbase is just like an insane pipe dream.
yeah,
Like you said, maybe that changes with different regulatory framework, but yeah, I see that it would be possible to get it on Binance, but you know, that the one or two more exchanges that have a higher trading volumes. It's I don't know. I just don't see being listed as one of a million other coins on Binance. Um, where what that really gets us, like how much does that actually move the needle for us, right? Like, yeah, maybe it erases some friction, but it's not like it being on there is gonna, attract people to the game or
yeah,
people are gonna hear about it, right? You're gonna find out about the game through a different way, and if you want to get the token, you're gonna get it, even if you only use Binance, then it's just flipping it to a wallet and using like Pancake Swap or something or some other
right.
DEX. It's like it's easy enough to figure out how to do, and like this is what crypto is, right? This is one of the whole points of the game too, is that like it helps people learn how to use crypto and learn more about
Yeah.
crypto in general. And so yeah, I don't know, I've never been a big fan of the camp that thinks that this is getting it listed on a top 5 exchange is gonna make us, and it's something that we really need to do. Like you said, it would be great, but it's not it's not how you hear about the game. It's not what's gonna, I think, attract people to the game.
Right. There was a time, and it was a while ago, even probably before last cycle, when a token got listed on a major exchange and it went crazy. But now it's like there's just so many, and like no one really cares that maybe there's a little bump. But right. So I 100% agree with you. That's what I was focusing on. The real win is making it easier for people to get fiat money into our tokens.
Yeah.
And that doesn't necessarily need to be through an exchange. We're also looking at ways, like especially in the US, a lot of people are able to use Coinbase and get USDC, also with very minimal fees to do that. So how can we? I think right now you can use the like TerraBlock bridge system to buy SPS or DEC with USDC. So I want to focus on one of the things I'm trying to do is like focus on making that a way, like we can just say, within the game, we could just say, hey, go to Coinbase, sign up, for an account if you don't have one. Here's how you buy USDC, and here's the real simple way to just turn that into your in-game tokens. And also, you mentioned things like crypto.com, but you can buy SPS on crypto.com, but you can only withdraw it to a Binance Smart Chain wallet, right? So that doesn't, like, for people trying to get fiat into the game, it's like what a lot of people don't even know what to do with that. So
yeah, you still have to, like I bridge it through Hive Engine. Like I found that that's kind of like the easiest, and from what I've seen, the least amount of transaction fees is bridging it through from my MetaMask wallet in through Hive Engine. And so that's what I do. Yeah.
But so the goal, and this stuff we're actively working on right now, and I expect will get easier in the future again with the law changes and stuff like that. Just to have a very simple, like, here's a way you put in dollars or euros or whatever, and you just get the tokens in the game. Like, that's it. It's so much harder than it needs to be. The validators are going to help, definitely, and the administration change should really help. But that's what we're pushing more than a random exchange listing.
Cool. Matt, I want to shift gears with you if we could, and discuss a little bit about hardcore survival mode. So it was obviously a very hot topic when you dropped your, I want to say it was your inaugural snap. Is that what it's called on Peak D? That short form,
right.
Yeah, and you just you threw a giant stack of kindling onto the fire that is this crazy speculative community, and imaginations went wild, yada yada. We've since had, some structure provided around what does survival mode look like, and I think it's fair to say that there's been some pushback, there's been some questions, there's been some concern, and I'd love to give you the opportunity to kind of address some of the concerns that, I think there's been a call for, hey, we're just welcoming back the bot farms that are going to sell SPS until the cows come home. We're going to be opening ourselves up to 2/3 of our game modes to bots and bot farms. This can't be a good decision. I'd love to give you the opportunity to kind of address this stuff head on, if you're keen.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate that, because I do address these things in, like, different places, and not everyone sees all those places, so it's good to do it in as many places as possible. Yeah, I guess the main concern was that you said, like, that this was just going to open things up to bot farming again. And that one, it's like, we work so hard to get things to a place where that is not a problem anymore. There's, like, absolutely no way that I ever plan to do anything that just makes that happen again, right? So, and I understand that it does have the potential to happen, and I see that, and I guess that's why people are worried. But the way I look at it is, like, it's extremely hard to guess how this is going to work out. I know everyone has, their theories, and I would prefer to try it. If there's a reason we're not going live with Glint, and I do plan to go live with the regular SPS reward pool. My guess is that even if it is possible to farm some of it, it will be a relatively small amount. And in the event that it is anything more than that, we are ready. We're going to fix it, like, immediately, as quickly as possible. But I would rather put it out and see how it goes, see what is actually happening, and fix that, than try to guess what is going to happen and put in some fixes that might just be wrong. And I really think we're risking very little. Like, how much SPS are really some bot farms going to be able to get in a season or two out of it? And they're like, if there is really some issue, we would either just implement something real quick, like we could throw in a wild or a survival pass, like we have wild pass if we needed to, very quickly and easily, or whatever. So like I 100% under no circumstances intend to allow any type of farming to happen. But I do the again, there is somewhere a person behind every bot farm, a person that has over time put like lots of money into this game. And they're basically playing a different game mode. Like bot farming was, you could call it a mode of Splinterlands in the past, right? Like it was a collection management mode across thousands of accounts. How do you, like, what cards do you get? There was tons of rental market activity for these bot armies, just like optimizing their accounts and managing their collections. So it's like part of the idea is this is like, okay, let's give them and other people like myself that type of game mode. They were renting hundreds or thousands of copies of the same card, and just say, okay, well, instead of having them do it across thousands of accounts and being able to take advantage of flaws in the system, let them do that same thing and put their money into the game in a single account, and have it be in a fair system that anyone else can participate in. You know what I mean? Like there's a demographic. We were talking about demographic earlier. There is a demographic that likes that type of thing. There's a and I fall into this in a lot of ways. Like I don't have that much time to actively play battles all the time. But I do have time to go look at what cards I need and want and buy them here and there, when I'm available, and then kind of go have them play in this game mode. I know people, that in Splinterlands, some of my friends that are in my situation. They don't have a ton of time to play all these battles, but they'll go buy a ton of cards and kind of automate it in this survival mode. So that's I understand people's concerns, and I hope at this point, the community can trust that I'm under no circumstances not going to let any type of farming happen. The flip side is I'm super excited for this mode. I am open to the possibility that this mode is so popular that maybe people don't even really play the other modes anymore. And I'm very open to do. People are like, well, why don't you do a modern version of the mode with no bots? I'm like, yeah, I absolutely would. I'm just not ready to do it at launch when I have no idea how this thing's going to go, right? And people are like, well, why don't you start with that? Some people are saying, well, because if we start with the no bot mode, we're going to get a lot less data, a lot less quickly. And part of the audience that we're targeting is also people who in the past have shown they will go and spend tons of money getting millions of copies of cards, and automating things. So yeah, so like I think that's just where we're starting. I want to see how it goes at a simple thing, fix the issues. I know there's going to be issues. We're going to take care of them, and then be like, all right, how do we expand this? How do we expand it in cool ways? And there's so much stuff we could do. We can have like a special, guild brawl type of survival mode, where it's like maybe for a season or a month, everyone in their guild can participate in their own special survival mode thing or something like that. And maybe there'll be a survival mode for a period of time that only allows rebellion cards or whatever. Like there's all sorts of things we can do. But like the number one thing I need to do is just try it out, first, and see what happens.
So yeah, I think I understand your points, that there's all these people, they have like the large cards collections and they want to have some way to kind of use these in a different way. But from my perspective, it looks like people who have already purchased these cards, they put this money in, what else are they going to do with the SBS? Whether it's, I know there's a few people who like you and some of the people that we know that have large collections who like really don't sell their SBS, but the majority of people who are going to take advantage of this game mode it seems to me like what else are they going to do with the SPS besides immediately sell it?
Well, I mean, yeah, some people might immediately say, but you could say that about any game modes. Like, why don't we stop giving out SPS in Modern and Wild then? You know,
Well, I think so. My perspective is kind of like this is kind of like a new game mode that's built to people who have already kind of put the money into the ecosystem, and it's just kind of be more of a drain on the ecosystem at this point, right? We already have the modern, we already have the wild, where people can use bots and do this sort of thing. So it's like we're taking another batch of SPS that wasn't planned to be distributed, and kind of putting that out there for something that's more than likely going to just be a majority drain on the token price.
yeah, well, I mean, I guess if that's the case, if it's just like people are just using it as a way to get more SPS and sell it, then it would have been a failure, right? So the the goal and the hope and the expectation is that this game mode is actually very fun and exciting, and interesting for people. So it encourages people to get more cards, buy or rent more cards, and participate and try to, do better in this game mode because they like it more. Um, and so that it would be a net positive to the ecosystem, which goes for any game mode or anything we have in the game. Like the idea is that people enjoy it and want to put in money and aren't just using it as a way to extract money.
Mm-hmm. So it's the thought that maybe even like the uptick in the buying the cards and even rentals, like we're gonna through the rentals we're gonna be using up more DC and burning more DC, and so that'll kind of offset any other like negative consequences.
Yeah, I mean, right. That's the idea. We saw money being put into the game, from bot farms and things in the past. Um, I feel like there's appetite for it.
Yeah.
But that's just with anything. The hope is that people put more into the thing than they take out because they enjoy it, or whatever they're earning in rewards gets reinvested. So yeah, I don't subscribe to the theory that we shouldn't try it, and see it. Like if it doesn't go well and it's not definitely beneficial for the ecosystem, we won't continue with it. Um, and that's also part of the reason why we specifically, some people suggested like, oh well, it'd be fine if cards die in survival mode, but they should still be able to be used in other modes. Um, we want to make it like either or type of thing. So it's not like just people who are playing in modern and getting the rewards there can now also just take all those cards and just earn more rewards. So it's just like you move to a different place. So there's like a lot of people like, I have a good friend who, uses a bot in Wild and effectively just manages his collection. Right. But there's some point where like, he's got most of the max level cards. So when new cards come out, he buys them and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Has no incentive to do any more than that, right? So my expectation is that people like him, they'll move over to survival mode, uh, because why wouldn't you, And then so then it'll be, he'll have reason to buy more cards and more stuff, even if he has max versions of things. Um, so I don't know. That's how I look at it. If I don't see it as just this new drain. I see it as like a fun game mode that hopefully people will enjoy. And if it's not the case, then we won't continue with it.
Yeah. I think some of the other, there were a couple of camps that it seemed like the community found themselves in and maybe, staked their arguments going against survival mode from, one was the economic drain, and two was kind of the optics of the choice at this particular time. The whole hour leading into the survival mode discussion was talking about, what's coming next and, how do we get ready for new players and getting Conclave Arcana set up and then enter in survival mode. And, it I think there are a certain section of folks in the community that feel like, why would we prioritize this all of a sudden when we've got all this other stuff still yet to be fully baked? So I'd love to hear your kind of thought process when you came to the decision that this should be something that is expedited. And I think you mentioned on the last town hall that the original plan was for survival mode to come out before the end of the year in this last release cycle, and we've since postponed it. I can see I can kind of see both sides of it. It sounds like there's real potential, and I don't think any of us ever thought that we would be able to see the day where we're turning the screws on Chaos Legion scarcity, but it feels like this could have the potential for doing exactly that, which is kind of a crazy idea in and of itself. But yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts on kind of addressing that camp, Matt.
Well, yeah, everything is like a cost benefit analysis, right? So, we have our main focuses and that we talked about earlier with the marketing campaigns and the onboarding and all the Conclave Arcana. And it's rare, but in this case, there was something that came up in this case, survival mode, that was like, once we kind of whittled it down, was actually pretty easy to do. Like we just kind of sort of make make another tab on the battle screen. There's, modern, wild, and out survival. And we make a couple relatively small changes with how the cards work and no energy. So it was like, okay, here's a small, this is not like we're throwing in another land type project here. It's the type of thing where like really it's going to be, one developer for like a month or so can put this out. So relatively small cost and potentially pretty massive benefit. So, it's in my mind, I was like, yeah, why don't we add this in along with the other stuff that we're doing? Like it seemed worthwhile. And as much as we also like, I want to focus on the new players and the onboarding and all this stuff. Like I also still want to make sure we focus on our existing player base. And as much as we can with them. So yeah, that's like I would never have done this originally when proposed, and it was PJ that actually proposed this. It was this like massive, huge project. So I was like, well, that's just not going to happen. Like, there's no way we could take on another massive, huge project. So then, I started thinking about it, and I was like, well, there's a way that we can just do this pretty darn simply. So then it's worth it. It's like take the chance. Again, this whole thing is a big experiment. So when you have a way to like quickly and easily try something new, like small, like the downside, like let's say this doesn't work, it's a dud. Like we didn't really waste too much. So small downside, potentially really big upside. Seems worth it. And then, as far as the rewards are concerned, like the plan was for the company to put it up, initially, because I wouldn't ask the DAO to just go support something like this, sight unseen. And then, yeah, ultimately it'll, the company can't do that for too long. So ultimately it'll be up to the community whether they want to, keep this mode or keep rewarding it or do something different. So it'll be up to you guys how how you want to keep going with it. My hope is that it's like really fun and neat and exciting. The community supports it and we can expand upon it.
So what were some of like PJ's grand vision for it? Was it, a major difference, or, what was kind of like the big vision for it initially?
Yeah, I mean, he had it all integrated with land, which is great. And I would like to do this also in the future. But obviously we need to focus on getting our land stuff done that we're already doing. But his whole thing was that it was like a big competition between the territories on land.
Uh-huh.
And he had a whole very involved system for how it should work, which was pretty neat. Um, but I, and it was like he had like a 20 some page document, I think, about all this. And yeah, I didn't bother going into all the details of everything because I just knew it wasn't going to happen. Like, there's just no way we can take on a project like that at all. So I went down to like, what is the real idea behind this, which we talked about, is like incentivizing people to have, be able to use multiple of the same copies of cards and like have this new sort of collection management, more automated type game, because there's a decent sized segment of players that would like this. They may not. Those players also are probably not the real vocal ones in the Discord, because they're not the type of players who have the ton of time to sit in our Discord all the time, right? So I don't think that we hear from them as much. But so it was like, okay, there's this player base, with money that would like this, which I agree with. And it really incentivizes this. It opens up this whole new thing of getting tons of copies of cards. Great for Chaos Legion potentially, like you mentioned. And I was like, okay, how do we take that concept and like, is there like a real quick and easy way we can just try this? Because it's worth it, in my opinion, to try it.
Yeah. It's
Cool.
funny because when we had PJ on, he, stressed the point of sort of what was it, the technological debt, that is, I believe is what he referred to it as, that the game had from stuff that it had wanted to do before, and stressed so much the importance of kind of eliminating that before moving forward. So I think it's kind of it's a little hypocritical that he came to you with a giant 20-page document and wanting you to put together this whole huge project.
Well, that's it. See, he's excited about it, right? Like, you don't do that at a normal company, right? He himself was like, this would be so cool, right? So all that other stuff kind of goes out the window in the face of like some really cool thing, which is great. Yeah. So I don't know. Again, like it's sort of the same thing that I've talked about before. Like, I don't feel like I'm good at articulating this. I feel like I'm like, I don't know, all over the place trying to explain why this is good. I hear all the community's concerns. I guarantee we're not going to let this be exploited in any way, shape, or form. Ultimately, it will be the DAO's decision to decide whether to continue to give out SPS tokens as rewards. My gut feel is that this is worth a try.
Yeah.
Cool. Last thing on survival mode, and this is my assumption based off, your stance that you just kind of walked us through. Soulbound cards are a no-go, is my
Well,
interpretation of what you've been
I
saying. Is that
no, I would like soulbound cards to be allowed. Because it would, I mean, soulbound cards are our rewards. So it would kind of suck if like you play to earn these rewards that then you can't use. So I want to ensure that it can't be exploited by accounts that had earned a lot of soulbound cards in the past. But I don't want to say like, oh, because these accounts were able to exploit something in the past, that now we then have to make things worse for everybody in the future. You know what I mean? Um, so I would like, and I plan to start with having soulbound cards be allowed. And I think there are other ways to deal with the old bot army accounts should those actually be an issue. And I don't, as some people seem to like know that that's going to be an issue, but I I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of limitations, uh, for that. Like previously, you split up like thousands of accounts because then you get a ton of energy. Like energy was the limiting factor in the game, and every account gets allocated energy, so you can exploit that by having a ton of accounts. Here, that's not the case anymore. So there's not nearly as much of an advantage of having thousands of accounts. There's probably a big disadvantage because they'll only be able to play however small number of battles, and then they're just kind of done for the whole season, you know? So like, how much can they, even if you have 10,000 accounts, like it's still unclear how much you can really get out of that. Um, so I want to see, and then there's potentially other ways we can address it, if that becomes a problem. But I would like soulbound cards to be allowed because I want players to play in it, earn glint, get more soulbound cards and have that be a benefit in that mode.
Is there going to be a way, or I know this is probably an extra step, but have you guys contemplated a way to kind of like lock cards so they can't be used in survival mode, or like to turn that on and off so that you can like, I would love to try this out and do it, but I don't know if I want to do it with my regular deck that I play with, right? I have extra copies of cards and stuff like that, cards that I'd want to play, which give it a shot with, but so is there going to be a way to kind of like option to turn that on or off, or
Yeah, the
prevent that from happening?
team's working on that. So maybe, possibly not for the initial launch, but you know, then if not soon after. Yeah, and we sort of have like a feature of being able to like put your cards into sets. That's for the like the one-click set rentals thing. Like, so you can kind of make a set of your cards. So we're gonna try to use that and just be like, put all of your cards that you use in Modern, for example, into like a set, and then you can just say like, the cards in this set don't show when I'm doing a survival mode battle. But yeah, but those are part of the little details that go into any feature like this.
Nice.
Cool. One more kind of big picture question for you, Matt. I know we're coming up on the 2 hour mark, and want to kind of start winding things down here with you, but we've kind of steered clear of roadmap stuff pretty much since the dawn of your CEO days. But I'm going to ask you to break that a little bit. Take a look at your crystal ball, 2025. I know we've got 6 big kind of items on the checklist to tick off throughout the first, handful of months of 2025. But I'd love to hear your perspective and thoughts on, what's next. Where are we going through the duration of 2025? What would you like to see us accomplish as a community, as a game, as we're developing stuff?
Yeah, the team kind of all got together, and we're probably going to do this some more kind of over the break to talk about that. The real reason I don't is just, again, because again, stuff changes. So it's like really hard for me to say, after Conclave Arcana, like what's going to be the right thing to focus on. Like it's so hard to know. Like maybe the marketing campaign's doing fantastic and we're getting tons of new players in, and in that case, we 100% got to focus on everything to keep that going, or maybe it's going great, and who knows. So I can talk about the things I want to see, but ultimately what we actually do is going to come down to what happens. And it's just like, based on the current situation, what is the best thing to focus on? Maybe our marketing campaign's falling flat, or like people are coming in, but they're not sticking around. And we identify, problems that we didn't anticipate. And then we're going to drop whatever we thought we wanted to do and focus on that. So, at a high level, though, I don't even like the 6 projects I mentioned on the last town hall. I kind of doubt they're all going to be fully done. Like once like everything's a first version, so we're going to keep iterating on it. So where some of the things, the glamour system, right? I'd like to have a first version of that out, but then I'd like to keep adding more cosmetics and things, for people to show off in the game, going forward. Whatever we do for onboarding and the tutorial and the free to play stuff, I imagine we're going to keep working on that. We're going to have a lot of, we'll hopefully have a mobile app out, but I don't think it's going to be perfect. So we're going to keep working on that. So I guess the majority of what I'm saying is like, keep working on and improving the stuff we've been doing. I'm trying to go through like the set of ideas. One thing I'd like to get back in a daily focus or daily quest system. That's, I guess, a smaller item in the scheme of things, but it's just all back to that like free to play game experience and just having goals and set things for everybody, not just new players, to work on. A reason why, I better get back in today to do my focus or my quests. Obviously, land. that we already have the roadmap for that, so I probably don't even need to talk about that
That
one.
always goes without saying, right? So yeah.
Yeah. Validators we like, it's supposed to launch in January, but that's like a very first version. So it's like, what more cool stuff can we do with validators? Can we move more parts of the game over there? Stuff like that. We wanna have a better messaging and notification system in the games. Right now, like you get a bunch of pop-ups and stuff. But it'd be cool if we had a place where you can go and see all your historical messages. So if you like miss a pop-up or you close it, you can go back and see it. We also want to do like peer-to-peer offers for the market. So like if someone like I have a gold foil legendary card, you could give me an offer on it, even if I'm not listing it on the market. You could offer me DEC for it or whatever. And the notification, the messaging system would, go into play there. You could come in and have like a little notification that you got an offer on your card. There's ideas of like sealed or draft tournaments that I know Call Me Tim has been already like working on and experimenting with on his spare time because again, he thinks this stuff is cool. So I'm like, well, if you want to go build it, you know, we'll we'll stick it in. So I think that stuff would be pretty neat. A lot of people have been talking about it. A lot of people have asked for customizable challenges. Uh, and there's been talk of battle passes. I think things like glamours and cosmetics will open up a lot of more opportunity for a battle pass. Because right now I'm like, well, what's a battle pass going to give you? What's even the point of it? Um, and as land gets further along, there's probably stuff we can do with a battle pass. I also want to revamp like our practice mode. There's practice, which people probably forget about because it's totally useless. But I think practice mode should probably be like, you know, um, you pick a league from bronze to champion, and then you just get matched up with a bot that plays at that league. So it's actually practicing like as if you were doing a ranked battle. Um, so like I guess a lot these are like a ton of little things, but taken all together, make it just for a much better, more polished overall product and experience. One bigger thing I mentioned earlier, I really want to do a big guild update. We've really identified guilds as a key to engagement. So I want to do a lot more with it, like just, different different ways you can cooperate with other people in the game to get benefits for all of you together. And it encourages people to just like keep coming on and playing because they don't want to let their guild down. There's so many things we can do. I mean, we have brawls, but that's pretty much it. But just like more cooperative things, even just like, for this week, every survival mode battle win or something, you get points, and at the end of the week, there's a leaderboard, and you get, revival potions or whatever. I don't know, like all sorts of cool little things we can do, to encourage people to participate in guilds.
I know
Yeah,
previously, Matt, I want to say, gosh, it was probably 2 years ago now that you had talked about it. It may have been you, it may have been Cryptomancer, but the big vision for at the time, there was a plan for a complete guild overhaul, introducing something like
yeah.
guild alliances and new buildings with the idea of maybe pack staking, SPS staking, stuff like that. Is that kind of still where the team's head is with regards to the future of guilds? I mean, I'm imagining a brand new guild with brand new players. It's crowns is such a massive bottleneck, and if you could team up with existing guilds and somehow benefit and communicate and toss pool from cards in a card vault, and all of a sudden you're competing with cards that are provided to you by the veteran guilds in our game. That all goes to your point of leveraging guilds to create that sticky experience. So are you guys still thinking in that direction?
Yeah, and I think that the details of what we probably talked about in the past will all change because things are so different now. But that's the idea. Like we just haven't looked at guilds in forever, right? So it's like take a step back and take a fresh look at what we can do with them. There's so many things we can do with them, but the goal is to make it not like a difficult or frustrating experience for new guilds and new players, um, and just like more stuff to do, more cooperative like things for everyone and for everyone to benefit together. And again, like we have things like Glint now. We're going to have things like glamours and cosmetics. So in the past, there's been a lot of like, okay, well, we can add more stuff to guilds, but like, why does anyone want to do it? You know what I mean? So it's like we can do lots of neat, fun stuff, or we will be able to in the near future. That'll open up a lot of opportunities, I think.
Yeah, I mean, talk about rewards. I just feel like when it comes to guilds, sort of like bragging rights go a long way.
Mhm. Yeah.
Trash talking goes a long way, and just being able to help, like, help other players too.
Yeah, and
I
it'd
feel
be
like those are
cool
like
if
the main drags, right? So it's like it doesn't have to be like big rewards, SPS rewards. I think a lot of that stuff is a lot of fun on its own.
right, but so the bragging rights would be you get a custom like avatar effect or something. Everyone in the guild, like their little circle guy has some cool effect on it because they were the top guild, right? Like little stuff like that. And that's the whole glamour, and cosmetic system will open up.
Man, I'm just kind of envisioning what I would like to see on like, the guild system has the home and away arenas. I would love to
Mhm.
have a custom home arena where it's like, welcome to the Thunderdome, bitch. You're about to,
Yeah.
and have some artwork that reflects that attitude. Like it's game on.
Yeah, like literally build your guild arena and you can buy, different cool stuff to put in there. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
brilliant. All right, man. Well, last thing, I know I said that a moment ago. Sorry to drag it on a little bit further.
You said
Uh,
last big picture thing, so this could be
Right.
Okay,
the
okay.
last
So
actual thing.
I covered my bases there. So it's been a little while since you released your initial proposal around Conclave Arcana. You put out some pretty new ideas with the introduction of this set. And I know you got an absolute slew of feedback and suggestions and ideas. How can we further differentiate Conclave Arcana from the rest? Has there been any iterations that you've kind of embraced and run with, as suggested by either the community or maybe a nudge from the guys on the marketing squad?
Not yet. So as we get closer to it, and as the marketing plan gets closer to being done, then I think we're going to start doing that. Again, like, so I needed to put the Conclave Arcana initial thing out to get the funding in for it, to make sure we make it to Conclave Arcana. So that, but other than that, again, like the more I do now, the more likely stuff's going to change in 3 months. So, we took all the feedback, and it's like, okay, well, let's see where we're at, before we make any more decisions. Is how I look at it. So I think as we get closer to the launch, then we're going to really start getting down into all the details, um, and see what makes sense.
Cool. Well, I will say I know that I've bugged the ever living shit out of Call Me Tim. I know for a fact, in that I've repeatedly put my hand up and volunteered some really great players to help kind of user test new abilities and cards and that sort of stuff. I'd love to see that kind of come to fruition as we move closer to Conclave Arcana. I would imagine it's still going to be a little while. We're still in the waning moments of rebellion. Less than 9,000 packs, which is
Yeah, very, very waning. And I should mention, like, Rebellion is going to be about the size of Beta. It's going to be a
Wow.
small set. Um, yeah, less than 1 million packs in total. Um, yeah, it's small, which is good. When it first came out, uh, I think it was like Crypto Eater who told me like, yeah, I'm not going to buy a ton of packs of this set. He historically has bought like ridiculous amounts of packs. And I was like, good. Like that's what I want. Like I don't want people to be. I want people to only buy packs if they want to use the cards in the game, right? I don't want people to just be like stocking up on packs for other reasons, because that's when you have oversupply of packs and, people dumping them later for cheaper prices because there's all these extra packs. And then if that's what happens, and it seems like the vast majority of our packs are opened. The Rebellion packs are almost all opened, which means people were, using them in the game, which is what we want. And it gets back to, in the past, like Alpha, Beta, Untamed, people didn't buy tons of packs as like this, like just future investment thing. They bought the packs they needed for cards in the game. And then that led to significant price increases because they were very scarce in the future. And so I want to get back to that. Like with Chaos Legion, everyone was like, oh, well, I'm not buying packs anymore. Like, they're going to just drop in value and be worthless. And so I want with Rebellion, and that's like clearly happened, that, people bought packs who want the cards. There's very few in circulation available to be sold. So going forward, they're going to be very hard to get, which is good. And I hope it gets people back into the mindset of like, crap, I wish I had bought more, versus Chaos Legion. Like I wish I wouldn't have bought so many. So it's good, like for long term. This is going to be a very scarce, hard to get set. And if, again, any of the things that we talked about happen over the next 6 months, it's going to be one of the two sets in Modern. And there's going to be very, very few packs and very small number of cards relatively available to even get, which will be great, in my opinion.
Yeah. Looks like we're knocking on the million pack marker door. I think in total it's 997,000 that have been either opened or circulating.
That much?
So pretty damn close.
Yeah.
Looking on Splinter cards, I don't know how current that data is.
Yeah, that's probably. Yeah, okay. So right about a million. Which is, beta was 900,000. And Untamed was 1.5 million. So it's like 2/3 the size of Untamed, to put it in perspective.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Not a lot of cards.
Yeah. Cool, Matt. Well, anything that we didn't really cover that you would like to get out there before I know you're going to be addressing the community at large to this time tomorrow or day after, but between now and then, if there's anything kind of burning a hole in your pocket, the floor is yours, man.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I feel like we covered a lot. So I will leave it there. And yeah, tomorrow there's the town hall. It's an earlier one, so 11 a.m. Eastern time. So about well, I guess I don't know when you're going to publish this. 12 hours from now when we're talking. Yeah, we'll talk about a lot of the same stuff, and some of the other team members will talk, and we'll go into it more and answer questions. But again, appreciate the opportunity to talk about this stuff.
Yeah, man. Always good to hang out, Matt. You sell yourself short in your ability to articulate. I feel like it's I know you're kind of the reluctant leader, but it's certainly refreshing to hear you at least attempt to articulate a lot of this stuff. So it's always good to see you, man. You're always welcome back at the People's Guild, dude. Appreciate you swinging by, and yeah, look forward to what's to come, dude.
Yeah, same. Very, very optimistic for the first time in a long time. So thank you guys.
Yeah, cool. Thank you. Appreciate the time.
All right, everybody. Well, we hopefully you enjoyed the show. We will see everybody at Town Hall. This episode should be live and published before that. So, hopefully some folks are starting their day with about 6 hours of Splinterlands stuff between Town Hall and the TPG episode. But we will be back in 2025. This will be as far as current schedule goes, this is the ultimate episode of 2024. So, yeah, we'll catch you guys later. In the meantime, you have been listening to
People's Guild.